Excuse me. Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy MKS here, back with another video. And welcome to the third and penultimate part of my plans ahead for November. I put ahead in speech marks. I said in part 2 because technically it's not ahead, but anyway, for the rest of November basically. But technically it's the second today, so I meant to finish this on the first, so I'm behind, quite behind schedule. But anyway, yeah, the day didn't go too well, I've got to admit. But these are pointers number 21 to 30, or pointers or plans or whatever you want to call them, number 21 to 30. So I hope you enjoy. And here you go. So number 21. Admittedly, I would have loved to have started this month a lot better, and I would love to have achieved a lot more before, including in October or even earlier in the year, or even going back all the way about 3 years ago when I turned 40, especially, or just generally in life, but especially when I turned 40, as the saying goes, life begins at 40. I have to say, I would have loved to have started loads of projects and done loads of great stuff. And one really sad thing happened to me, to be honest. Part of me wants to sort of tell people to get out of the way and sort of talk about it, but then again, I don't want to share negative news. But we lost one of our cats on the 5th of August, unfortunately, which is my birth month as well, so I was really doubly disappointed, and it was so sad. I cried like 3 times on that day. Surprised I'm coping with it as well as I am in my opinion, because to me there's probably no one thing that I love more than Panda, who passed away on the 5th of August. It was so gutting, excuse the expression. But we have Minsky here, which is a cushion of a little cat here. It's not in the camera at the moment, but if you see my old videos, they were both in those videos. But here he is. Come on, Minsky. Anyway, I'll leave him to it. He's just chilling there. But yeah, we do have one cat left. My mum gave one away, and another one. But sorry, my mum gave one away. One passed away, and we have another one. So we had 3 at one point. Now we have one with us. So I'd love to get more cats. I've become a crazy cat guy, crazy cat man or whatever. But I thought my mum became the crazy cat woman, but I'm the crazy cat guy now. So I was never a cat person until I spent time with my sister's cat, and also until we got our own cat. Anyway, but yeah. So yeah, I would have loved to have achieved a lot more, and I was thinking, I'm very attached to my notes, my writing and things like that, but I would give up all of those if it meant my cat didn't become ill. But unfortunately it happened. I'd give up all my notes for this cat here, Minsky. But he's not in the camera shot. He's not playing ball at the moment. I think I'll just leave him there because I'll have to move my whole laptop to pick him up. But if you see my old videos, you'll probably see him somewhere in those videos. But yeah, this month didn't start too well either. But anyway, another thing is I was thinking that I kept forgetting my train of thought, but brain's not working. Sorry, it's taking a while to wake my brain up. Still trying to get it to wake up. I think it's just about going to sleep again. But yeah, I was thinking I could have covered today, technically, or again, yesterday, technically, I could have covered on the 1st, which is one thing I was going to cover, which was startups by neurodiverse startups. And I suppose, and I was thinking next week on the 8th, I hope to cover startups by black people in Britain and across Africa and across Europe and all over the world, really, and maybe how to help more black people to start their own businesses, including in Australia, Australasia generally, Africa, Europe, or even Asia, or the Americas, and else, all over the world, really, and maybe to network together. And same for neurodiverse people. But today I was thinking, because I am neurodiverse, thinking of like looking after number one, the more selfish version about neurodiverse people coming together and setting up businesses, even though most of my money I'd give away, but it would be like a social enterprise. But I wish to set up a network which would be for any any neurodiverse person who wanted to be part of that network, and hopefully the network would grow over time. But yeah, so I was stuck in a few minds about what I could cover. And even when I made part one afterwards, I thought, oh, I could have started, because of my patterns, I could have done my plans for the month on Tuesday, which was the 4th, or is the 4th, sorry, coming up, sorry, brain completely not working, pretty much. But yeah, because I'm thinking like all for one and one for all. So, and because today's, or yeah, technically yesterday was a Saturday, I was thinking like startup Saturday. I think of startups on Saturday. Starts with similar letters. So again, my silly little patterns, including use of alliterations. Again, so my brain's not asleep. But yeah, so I mean, could have, should have, would have, or whatever. But yeah, I was thinking I could have done like talking about neurodiverse, especially neurodiverse owned startups. And in the future, I'd love to find out if there are 40 neurodiverse startups and like helping them raise their profile, like I did with black book writers, black writers for God's sake, and things like that. But yeah, helping to raise their profile, but most importantly, perhaps helping more neurodiverse people start businesses. But I think if we built a network, we could all just build a massive business together and maybe pool our money and resources together and buy things in bulk and sell them for cheap. I'll give you a big giveaway there, because a lot of times, especially in the past, I could be very secretive with my ideas, but that's one of the plans I had, like people with things in common with me, coming together, pooling our money and resources together and buying things in bulk and then selling them for really cheap. So undercutting the costs of other companies, basically selling things cheaper. That was my business model idea, especially in the past. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to implement it. But yeah, so I was thinking as I could cover startups, or I could have covered this, or I could have waited till the 4th to do like plans for the month. But could have, should have, whatever, as I say. But I'm going to move on, I think, to that thing. I think I meant to say in part 2, but I couldn't really remember. And I was like, oh my god, forgetting my train of thought. But yeah, I would have liked to have started. I'd love to have started the month off a lot better, but it wasn't to be. But moving on to number 22, thinking about 21 being the past of, so like 22, thinking about getting on with things and moving to the future. There's a lot of things I wish I could remember, a lot of things I wish I could probably forgive and struggle, forget, and move on to go to the future and look at, let's say, how to help more neurodivergent, black and other minority people starting up their own startups and building their own SMEs and things like that, and even growing bigger businesses and whatnot. And also, again, Native Americans and POC all over the world. I said minorities, but also people across Africa. Well, obviously, there wouldn't be a minority, but I'd love to. I talked in October about how I'd love to support. I'd love to find a way to fundraise for and generally support 40 dyslexic startups, as well as 40 black startups in all possible countries. And for November, I'd love to support 40, or as many as possible, really, neurodivergent startups and SMEs in every possible country and things like that, and similar for the black community as well. Again, as I didn't get to do in October, but I know I said about networking together, but if like banks like Barclays, NatWest, Lloyds, HSBC, and other banks and organisations like BlackRock, Bridgewater, Blackstone, and others, Cascade Investments, Berkshire Hathaway, and others, if they could be encouraged of their own free will, of their own free choice, to invest into like neurodiverse people and the talents of neurodiverse people, as well as black people and Native Americans and that kind of thing. I think that'd be pretty cool. Hopefully, it'd be good for their PR. But yeah, in the future, I'd love to find ways to support more neurodiverse people, whether that's building their own startups, starting new careers, and starting to be empowered and have like a neurodiversity empowerment plan. So I think that would be pretty cool. I've heard of the dyslexic empowerment plan, but I think that would be pretty cool. But yeah, so looking at moving on to the future and talking about moving on. Point number 23. Sorry about that. I hope I haven't come down with a cold again because a lot of time I go to sleep and I'm feeling good, and then the next day, well, I was a bit tired on Friday night, but when I came back from this games group, but I was thinking I don't know what's wrong with me. Like I didn't think I thought maybe I had too much sugar in it. Like it so has low, not low level. It has a low. What's it? But yeah, what's the word? God's sake. Short bursts of energy, and then it comes down a bit like a drug, really, but not quite a drug. But I know people say sugar is really addictive and bad for you. But I was saying I don't think I particularly ate loads or whatever, or had too much sugar, which would have made me crash down or whatever. For some reason, I was really tired when I came back from the games group. Maybe it was because I was being awesome at Monopoly, but tired of being awesome, but maybe not. Just kidding, of course. But anyway, moving on. Number 23. When my mum or other people call me, like especially at the top of their voice, I'm like, oh, or whatever, it distracts me. Like I'm trying to think of something, and it really irritates me. And I was thinking about having a collection partner. This mug says, I know I mentioned it in previous videos, but it says, I've been called many things in my life. Michael is the name I best respond to. And my sister, who now lives in Australia, has lived there for probably about 10 or 15 years or so, got me this mug. And I thought, not that this is just a visual example, but I thought of an idea. Like I thought you could have like collection mugs. And let's say, I don't know, if you smoke, you could put, each time you don't smoke, you save that money, or you don't drink, you don't go out for a drink. I don't know if people on, even people on, maybe people on drugs, I don't know, but smokers, drinkers, and maybe drug takers, double question mark, because I want to try and quit, and to help me to quit, I'm going to put money in there and see how much I can save. And I thought as well, like the reason why I mentioned, like when my mum calls me or people call me, I thought each time you call my name, part of me wants to change my name to Michael, I want to give money to your charity. Something like that. I partly jokingly say, but if I had the spine to say it, but I was thinking like each time, and if I had the spine to say it, I'd say to my mum and my brother and maybe my other siblings as well. I say my mum and brother because they live with me, but each time you call me to put some money in there, I don't know how much, maybe £7, maybe £10, £5 or whatever it might be, and that money would be collected, and each month I would love to have a different course. So I thought it could be something lots of families could do, like you can say each time you swear you have to put money in this jar. It could be a jar or whatever, or a mug or a cup or whatever. I assume one you're not going to use, or at least for that day, or whatever, you can always wash it or whatever. But and you I was thinking for a whole month, maybe I wouldn't even use this, let's say, or I'd only use it to keep money in or whatever. And so yeah, this could be like or this could be just a permanent thing. But I suppose every month it would have to be emptied. I don't know how much this can contain, but yeah, this is, as I say, a visual example. But the reason why I mention that, I think of point number 23 for charities, and I love to fundraise for neurodiverse people, black people, POC people of colour, minorities, and other groups. In this month, I'd love to fundraise for neurodiverse people specifically, and also black people to compensate for the N-word, for people using the N-word, and also Native Americans to sort of turn a negative into a positive. In fact, when mum calls me, I think of it as a negative, but or anyone calls me and they distract me, but if they had to put money in this jar each time they call me and we stuck to it, that would turn it into a positive, which I hope to come to again in more detail a bit later perhaps. But that money could be raised. So each November, if I had the spine to do so, I'd say each time it could be a range of things, like if you swear, if you blaspheme, maybe you raise money for the church or whatever, I don't know, if you or the mosque or whatever, depending on how you blaspheme or whatever, or if you call someone, give someone an errand, you have to put money in there, and you'll see how much often you have to do it. But if you stop, if you don't smoke, and you think, well, actually, I'd normally spend £5 or £10 or whatever it is on cigarettes, but the money I've saved, I'm going to put it in this jar, and donate it to charity. And in this case, it would be for like neurodiverse people, maybe for neurodiverse people to set up their own charities, maybe for neurodiverse people who can't get a job to have something to eat if they're unable to pay for it. Obviously, they'd be able to pay for it because with that money, or whatever. So I'd love to, in this case, if I could, I would love to have said that if I had the spine to say it on the 1st. So my mum called me about 4 times. So that would be about, depending on the amount, let's say it was £7, that would be £28. And then if that happened throughout the month, collecting that money, and even if I, like say, if I swore or something, that would be, but collecting that much money, then at the end of the month, it would be split between those 3 groups. So on the 30th, this month has 30 days, or let's say even the 1st of December, I would give that money to, I'd collect that money all up and I'd donate it to, I'd split it into 3 and donate a third of it basically to neurodiverse people, then a third of it to help the black community and a third of it to help Native Americans or something like that. So that's one of my quirky ideas, but I wonder if so many families did that as well across the country and even across the world. I think a lot of money could be collected for good causes or whatever. For me, in December, it would be like for disabled people, Disabled December, including maybe dyslexics, but people with physical as well as mental disabilities as well, and then disabilities. And in January, for a selfish point of view, because it's the first month looking after number 1, I'd use it to fundraise for Italian football teams like Inter Milan or AC Milan or Italian football generally, and donate to Serie A so they could give the money to Italian teams, and then or Juventus for like Juventus January or whatever, and then in February it would be African Americans because it's Black History Month in America, and the list go on. I'm not going to go for all the 12 months, sorry. Just so please don't worry about that. But yeah, each month it would be for a different cause or a different group or whatever. But yeah, I'd love to find lots of creative ways to fundraise for Native Americans, Black people worldwide, and neurodiverse people. I just said that in the wrong order, but never mind. Either way, anyway. But moving on, number 24, as I say, each month I normally have a different theme. But yeah, I would do that thing where I fundraise for such. I'm thinking I want to go through all 12 months, but maybe over each month I'll choose something at the beginning of the month. I'd say I want to fundraise for this group, and every time someone, as I say, if they call me or whatever, or even if I call someone else to make it fair, I'd have to put money in it or whatever. And if someone swears, it could be like a swear jar, or if someone smokes or saves money on their smoking, in fact, and it could be an incentive. It might think, I feel better collecting this money than I would smoking, or people could even just choose to put whatever money they want. But I think it should be for certain things, like each time you give someone an errand to do, you have to put some money in there, whatever, it's an agreed amount, depending on how much your income is or whatever, or how much assets you have or whatever. So I'd love to know what you think about that idea. I hope it makes sense. If you have any questions, as ever, please fire away. And on that note, please let me know whatever else you think. And please comment, that sort of stuff. And yeah, I suppose I could have said for point number 23 as well, I'd love to support animal rights and things like that. I'd love to know what neurodiverse people think about animal rights, and also Black people around the world, and Native Americans and that kind of thing. I know Native Americans have a certain way of looking after nature and working with nature, so to speak. And also each day I normally have a different theme, like Startup Saturdays, Success Stories Sundays, Money or Motivation Mondays, Banking, Business, and that kind of thing. So neurodiverse people in banking and business, for instance. Similar on Tuesdays. Sometimes I go on, or most of the time I go on alliteration as well. So like Monday could be music, movies and things like that as well. So neurodiverse people networking together in movies and music, different industries as well as business. I suppose it is called the music industry in the movie industry, so it is a kind of business. Number 25, I'd love to support republics. Number 26, I would love to find ways to reparate people. As I say, like my quirky and controversial idea of, I suppose it's kind of controversial. Maybe everything is controversial nowadays, but of supporting the Black community to compensate for them being called the N-word. And I was thinking like NatWest Bank, for instance, could fund the Black community even more to sort of say, we compensate you for being called the N-word, and for like things that involve like slavery, colonization, subjugation, loss of liberty, and all that kind of thing. Obviously, all goes hand in glove, I guess. I mean, slavery is loss of liberty as well, of course, but yeah, that kind of thing. So names they were called / being dehumanized / being enslaved / obviously losing your liberty, therefore, and that kind of thing. But yeah, moving on, number 27. I'd love to see what, as they want, neurodiverse people could contribute to things like town football. And maybe to say thank you for me supporting them. If my plans help them, or even for the intention, hopefully, I can improve relations between Italians and black people through football somehow. Maybe naive, but I hope that companies that support neurodiverse people and struggle black people and struggle Native Americans are rewarded for doing so. And there's something else I was going to say, but I completely forgot. Sorry. Number 28. I hope I can change perceptions and improve the life for neurodiverse people as well as the black community. And as I say, I think of it as a negative when people call me, but I think it would be quite positive if I could say each time they call me, I know it's going to go into a collection pot and then be raised for a different charity or different cause each month. And I guess it's just having the spine to explain the ideas. Like when I make these videos, even though you can probably tell I get a bit nervous, stumbling on words or whatever, kind of thing, I sort of can say what's on my mind a bit more. But a lot of time I have a challenge of avoiding conflict and confrontation. I like to avoid conflict and confrontation. And some people say that the best business people are normally male because, and again, I don't like to offend people. I don't like to either be offensive or come across offensive or whatever, and that kind of thing. But they say a lot of males do not mind, are confrontational, and that word doesn't necessarily mean that they deliberately want to see conflict, but they are not shy to say things that are controversial and struggle. To speak their mind and to to be involved in arguments or conflict or confrontation. Whereas I would think that would distract from goals, but apparently it can have its own advantages. And perhaps wanting things a certain way and being bossy enough to sort of say whatever. Although people might say women are more bossy, but I guess it's debatable. But I guess, speaking their mind and not being afraid of conflict. Something else I was going to say about losing my chain of thought again, losing my marbles again. That's one thing I'd love to not do, lose my marbles. But I'd love to find my marbles. I probably lost them a long time ago, but if I ever had them to start with, I'd say, I don't know if I lost my mind or if I had it to begin with. But the reason why I mentioned about giving money to the collection pot and all that kind of thing is in point number 28 as well, is because I was going to say in point number 26, but I forgot, is that is because I think of like 28 as turning negatives into positives for some reason. Sorry, we're not working again. I think of like people calling me, I find it really annoying and frustrating. But if I knew, it probably would still frustrate me a bit, but it wouldn't frustrate me as much if I knew that the money was going to collect. And I wonder if it would put them off doing it because they might think, oh, I'm going to have to pay more and more. So they see that they're paying a lot of money and losing a lot of money. Or maybe not, maybe they think it's going to a good cause, I don't know. But at least I'll know it's going to a good cause myself. But moving on, number 29, I wonder if there is a way to connect people with neurodiverse conditions from different backgrounds. So I guess a lot of people who are neurodiverse are going to be racist or have some sort of prejudice or be prejudiced in their own way or whatever. It'd be hard to see us all networking, but I wonder if we could network together. And I'd love to see how different people from different races / ethnicities, I get those mixed up, but I see it in a very simplistic way, but in fact, I would see like race or ethnicity as like sort of the colour of someone's skin, but I think it's actually about their culture and different things like that. So I don't really know the definition, but I wonder, like for instance, what are Asians' experience of like Asian people with neurodiverse conditions? I know I'm half Asian myself, but full-blooded Asians, especially, or even mixed race people, like or black people, white people, and different people from different racial or ethnic backgrounds, as I say, different people with different colour skin, people with different racial or ethnic backgrounds, from different racial or ethnic backgrounds. Sorry, that's from my brain, and different religions or different communities, like Asian communities or whatever. I wonder what their experiences are and what knowledge people have in those backgrounds and that kind of thing. And number 30, getting Nuki. And like black people to get Nuki, and neurodiverse people to get Nuki, and Native Americans to get Nuki. Reparations. Like that. Yeah, sorry. And on that bombshell, I'm out. Peace and love. I'm going to be more professional, probably. I am me, I guess.